to Carry On, a film-by-film retrospective review of the cinematic career of Jim Carrey. First film that I chose to review it because we're going to go in order. First one was Rubberface, originally called Introducing Janet. It was renamed Rubberface for the DVD release because of the success of Jim Carrey's career at that point. It is important to note, Jim Carrey is barely in it. Now, I have to tell you, this movie was as hard to find as it was to watch. It was all of 47 minutes long, and I had to play it on 1.5 speed because the pacing was just absolutely atrocious. But first, a quick synopsis of the film. A high school girl named Janet, who seems pretty normal, doesn't know what she's going to do with her life, but it also seems like she's about 16, so I think that's fine. All the synopsises, and all of the characters refer to her as being overweight. She looks perfectly normal to me. Her mother talks about her being aimless. She's 16. That seems perfectly normal to me. She, goes about her day entertaining her friends, which she seems to have plenty of friends. She seems to be doing well in school, and yet everyone keeps acting like this woman is in some way a failure. And then her teacher, I wrote this down. First of all, he assigns a final project, I guess they're near the end of the year, a final project worth 50% of their grade. Which means that if that's the case, you could throughout the year have done 40% of the classwork, and if you get a full 100% grade on the final project, you're going to end up with an overall 70% for the class and pass. That's irresponsible. That's bad teaching. And the assignment that the teacher gives is, the writing prompt is, why people ... And then the students have to fill in from that point. That's the most open-ended horse pucky. That's not a good writing assignment. Now, why people blank, like if the teacher had filled in the blank, anyways, it's not a good assignment. So Janet decides to write one called Why People Laugh, all about laughter. Also important, the teacher hands back some writing that they've done before and makes Janet read hers in front of the class. It's very personal. It's very serious, and that teacher should know better. And she starts crying and runs out of the room. No one goes to check on her. End of scene. So, in studying Why People Laugh, she goes to a comedy club, and there meets Jim Character's character, who's Jim Carrey's character. It doesn't matter. Jim Character. That's what I'm going to go with from now on. Meets Jim Character. Jim Character shows up 12 minutes and 47 seconds into a 47 long made-for-TV movie. His name is Tony Maroney. No, it's not. That's not a real human being's name. But his name is Tony Maroney, and he both works at Giggles, which is the comedy club. I believe he's a dishwasher, and he also wants to be a stand-up comic. Now, the movie takes a pretty bold move here, which is to have... Because sometimes in movies, you see a character who's like a stand-up comic who is unsuccessful, but we as the audience appreciate their jokes. But for whatever reason, their audience doesn't. Maybe they don't have enough confidence, or their timing is wrong, or whatever. But the jokes are good. The audience response is just bad. But this movie takes the very bold choice to make also the material bad. And Jim Character is literally a terrible stand-up comic. So the writing is bad there. I think also, you would think from the title Rubberface, or Introducing Janet, but later Rubberface, and the fact that Jim Character's in it, you're going to think, well, this is a comedy. But it's really not. It's not very funny. In fact, there was a time, about a half hour into the movie, where I started to suspect that maybe this movie might actually be about suicide. Don't worry, spoiler, it's not. But it definitely seems like it could be at one point. So Janet works with Tony to develop Tony's act, while Tony helps Janet with her self-esteem, I guess. That's displayed because there's one scene where they're hanging out. Also, once again, in filming this, Jim Carrey was 21 at the time. I believe, if not younger, maybe he was 19. But he's working at a comedy club. We have no sense of his age, but I would guess he's supposed to be 18 or 19. There's no clear sense as to what the relationship between Janet and Tony was before this movie or during the movie. Once again, I think the movie at a certain point started to try to make us think there was going to be a romance, but don't worry, nothing comes of that. But there's one scene where they're hanging out in like this diner, and Janet's friends show up and ask who he is. She then proceeds to like call him a clown and not actually introduce him. He gets this look on his face, end of scene. And you think, oh, well, he was offended because she called him a clown. And then about 5 minutes later, he explains that he was upset because she was pretending to be someone she's not. She's 16. Of course she's pretending to be someone she's not. She's trying to impress the cool kid. Anyways, so then at the end of the movie, spoiler, the big comedy performance that they've been working up to with Tony's act, Tony comes down with laryngitis, and so Janet is supposed to get up and perform and fill a 15-minute spot, which is, once again, absolutely absurd. I know many stand-up comics that would balk at the idea of suddenly having to do an impromptu 15-minute set. And reminder, I think she's like a 16-year-old girl, and this comedy club's just like, well, Tony can't do it. Get on up here, Janet. And she tells, not really jokes, so much as like has a therapy session on stage where she talks about how demanding her mother is, and about her parents' divorce, and about her weight issues. And everybody's laughing and having a great time. And she comes off stage and Tony congratulates her, only to reveal that he doesn't actually have laryngitis. End of movie. So that's it. It's a fairly restrained performance from Mr. Carrey. There's a couple pretty zany moments. He's pulling a lot of faces, doing some voices, but he's not really a larger-than-life character so much as, and I don't know if the movie intended this or not, there are points where you want to just like shake him and slap him and say like, be yourself. Like you're trying to act like you have all this confidence, but you're hiding behind these faces and these voices, and that's not really you, but you're telling a 16-year-old girl to be yourself. And I don't know. But this movie was Jim Carrey's first. It's 47 minutes long. Good luck finding it if you want to see it. I'm going to give it, I don't know, like a 2 out of 10. It just wasn't very good. Like I said, I watched most of the movie on 1.5 speed, and it felt like that was the speed it was supposed to be at. Nothing was lost from it. Because without that, the pacing of the movie is so terrible. It's a 47-minute long movie that could very easily have been 18 minutes long. But that's the first, and now I'm ready to carry on.